Towolawi. Forget the smiles and everything. This man can be very rash when you meet him on set, on the film set. I'm so happy that he's given us that privilege to have him on the program today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, today, as I told them on most of the promos I had, I did tell them that we'll be having you to talk about a lot of things. But I don't want to go into your profile because I could take 15 minutes to talk about you because I know you personally and I know professionally what you've been able to do. But I'd just like to, like my president said, please keep it very simple and let Niyi do the talking. So, who is Niyi Towolawi?
I'm a simple individual, I suppose. I'm very creative. I have a lot of energy to pursue my creative endeavors. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a musician, I'm an IT professional.
Okay, that's just in brief, yeah. But you heard him say who he was, but I took time out to do a little bit of research. If you go to Wikipedia, he's actually on Wikipedia, and this is what Wikipedia has to say about this gentleman. It says, of course, he's Yoruba man, but I can tell you, don't even try him. His Yoruba is next to nothing. I'm not kidding you. Now, well, he's a Nigerian descent. He grew up in Canning Town, so we can call him an East London boy. Now, he says also he's a mathematics graduate from the University of Manchester. He was popular on campus for his somewhat eccentric personality, soul-trained dance moves. Really?
Yeah. I was a break dancer.
Okay, we'll see that. He has always been a keen jazz musician and plays several musical instruments. He worked as a software developer, as I rightly said, headhunted by some of the world's leading organizations after graduating from university, where he continued producing music and shooting numerous music videos in a cinematic style that evolved into making feature films. He has been at the forefront of the digital cinematograph revolution since 2005, shooting then with 35mm adapters on camcorders. It goes on and on and on. This film, the first one is Twisted, if I'm right?
Yes.
Was one of the first to project digitally when it premiered at Odeon, sorry please, in 2007. And that's just a brief about Niyi Towolawi. Now Niyi, from what I read, I believe you are actually a software developer. Am I correct? Would I be right to say that?
Yes.
Now, how come this profession, how come it seems your body, your soul, everything is actually embodied in filmmaking itself?
So the interesting thing is, I think it's more of other way around. So,
okay.
I've always been very creative. I grew up drawing comics from a very young
comics.
age.
I do remember that.
I was drawing from when I was about 2, actually.
Wow.
I think that was the very first thing that I started doing. I became quite passionate about music. When I was in primary school, my primary school was in Ant Barracks in Lagos. They had a strong music regiment there.
Yeah.
I got music scholarships.
Wow.
And all sorts. Incidentally, I was playing the recorder, and they were the new music director that said only girls could play only girls could play recorder. Boys had to play drums. I'm a terrible drummer, so I kind of fell out of love with that. But I got a scholarship to play piano. Came to London at the start of secondary school, and kept on playing piano.
Wow.
But the key thing that I'm trying to get at is Nigerian parents typically,
stereotype you.
Yeah, they want the academic side of you.
So you need to get out of the way first.
Yeah, of course. Which which fortunately was quite effortless for me as well. So I loved maths growing up. I wanted to go to medical school and then decided against it, but because I love maths so much, I went off to get a degree in mathematics.
Wow.
But while doing that, I was actually producing music. I was in a boy band in Manchester. Manchester has a strong music setup.
Okay.
And from there, eventually, I started doing music videos, which then led to making films.
Films. Okay. Now, your journey into filmmaking. I mean, did you have any form of training somehow? I mean, maybe there was someone you understudied. You had to work with someone to be able to get the grasp of the intricacies of what filmmaking was all about.
Well, not initially. Eventually, I did. But the interesting thing about that was, I think it was around 2003, 2004. I wanted to shoot a music video.
Yeah.
And my plan essentially was that I was going to find a company and give them this job to do. While struggling with that, I went out and bought books. I think YouTube was maybe at its early stages, not even started there.
Yeah.
So I went out and I bought books.
On filmmaking?
Not filmmaking, storyboarding.
Storyboarding?
Yeah, storyboarding. And because I drew comics,
I need a pen here. I need to take some notes.
And because I drew comics, I just fell into that. Like, so storyboarding.
Yeah.
So I, came up with the concept for the video. I drew storyboards for it.
Wow.
And then I was then shopping that around in Soho, especially, and I was getting quotes of £80,000, or like £120,000 to shoot this simple music video, which I couldn't actually afford.
Yeah.
And then I thought I might as well just shoot it myself. I had a camcorder anyway. And then just kept on learning. But I think the penny dropped for me when I realized that all I had to do for the music video was to shoot the storyboard.
Exactly. Just follow what's on your storyboard.
Yeah, exactly. So that was quite cool. So in the song as well, I actually played the saxophone in the song.
Wow.
So the thing was that, so in any framing that I had to be in, the camera was on tripod. I used a remote control to press record. To
get the right framing for that particular scene.
Any shot that I was in, there was always maybe a pole in the background, and I'll use that to frame myself. And I'll just quickly press record and go and stand.
So like a woman band.
Yeah. So but then after that I actually got a short film award for that music video.
Wow.
So two of my music videos I've won short film awards.
Okay.
I've never won an award for a music video that has a lot of dancing and stuff like that.
Okay.
But focus on the storytelling.
Okay. So basically, the storyboard is one of the essentials for you.
Yes.
During your creative process.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about narratives because of our time. I would love more time. I'm looking at the African film industry presently, and I hear a lot of people talking about African narratives. It's time to tell our story, the way it should be told. And a guy said to me, well, Tunde Kilani Tiki, I'm sure you know him, he's played his part by trying as much as possible to tell this story. What is the African narrative in your own terms, with your experience? What do you think the African narrative should be for filmmakers?
Well, I think the African narrative is, I sort of diverged in the sense that you have Africans still in Africa on the continent, and then you have Africans that have emigrated.
Global ones.
So I'm a second generation, British. We now have third generations now. It's now a melting pot of people from the Caribbean and also to African Americans as well. We all have stories to tell. But all these stories obviously have an African backdrop to them. But what we all share, regardless of what type of African we choose to identify with, is that we have stories that are peculiar to us. We have experiences that
reflect who we are.
Exactly. Yeah. So either based on our culture or based on our environment, and those type of stories are largely underrepresented. In fact, they're hardly told. A lot of films coming out of Africa now have a very strong Western influence in there. And so they're trying to tell Western stories just to capture that Western audience. So I think the African narrative for me basically is telling our stories. But what tends to happen that I've noticed is that the way our folklore, the African folklore, is represented isn't the same as the Western folklore. Most Western stories kind of stem from, say, the happy ending, if you will, like the happy ending. But the Yoruba films, because I started studying films, because my first film was a Nigerian film, but I actually studied films. But it was a case of trying to reverse engineer the process. So thinking of African folklores, Yoruba stories typically have a moral ending to it.
Almost everyone.
Yeah, you don't have a protagonist, you have an antagonist. And the story typically is about the downfall of the antagonist and then the lesson you learn from that downfall. So I think it's things like that we need to kind of take into account.
So we need to put more muscle in those kind of narratives you're talking about.
Yeah, sure. One of my favorite African books is Things Fall Apart. And there's so many interesting things about that book. I love the way the story is narrated, because we're talking about the narrative now, not the actual story itself. The story shifts focus between different first party or different first person perspectives. But the key thing essentially about the story is that it doesn't have a happy ending. It's the downfall of the community. And Okonkwo, the lead character in the book, it's about his demise ultimately. And what I find very intriguing about that particular book is that the way the book ends is after Okonkwo's body has now been discovered, the English governor or one of the guys, he then just pretty much just summarizes it into oh, this will make a nice book. So it's things like that really that we need to tell.
So when you tell more of our own stories, from our own point of view, in order to give us a more reality in the things we project to the outside world.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we also need to have the education to understand.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. I was going to come to that
because that is also grossly lacking as well.
You know, I told you before we came on this program that we would have to do a part 2 of this program.
I'm actually hoping so.
But let me move on with what I have so that we know we can cover as much ground as we can today. Now, in terms of, let me start off with budgeting. I don't want to go into the process first. I want to look also at the money issue. Now, the question: do you really need a very big capital to shoot a very good film, or can something very good be achieved with a low budget? Because I've worked with you. I'm not saying you use you redo little songs, and I've seen people and you do quite a lot with something next to nothing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the opportunities that I have is that I have my own equipment. I have very expensive cameras.
Stuff, yeah.
I have basic cameras. But at the same time, any equipment that I own or choose to use is something that I would have researched and I think suits the type of thing that I'm trying to produce at that point in time. But making a film to an extent is, I guess you could say, building a house. You can build a hut for that's nothing.
It depends on the kind of house you intend to build.
But there are rules to building houses, such as the house must stand.
That's one of the core things you need to be comfortable.
So the house must stand. The house must be weatherproof. It must be comfortable to an extent. It must be sizable for to accommodate what you're trying to put into it.
Yeah.
So in a similar way, filmmaking or storytelling also has its own rules. The story needs to make sense. It needs to be pleasing to the eye. It needs to sound good.
So are you simply saying there's no how you can actually get something out with a low budget?
No, you can. As an experiment, I shot a film, a Cameroonian film, last summer, and the question I was trying to work out was, how low can the budget be? This film was produced for less than £10,000. If I told you the film,
£10,000 is a lot of money.
My most expensive film cost $1 million.
Wow.
And $1 million on some shoots is the budget for the food.
For the food.
So it's
it depends on which ground you find yourself.
Well, even in London, I think it's almost impossible to shoot a film for less than £20,000. Okay. And I managed to do that for less than 10.
So like rightly pointed out, it depends on the house you're trying to build.
Yes.
Now that takes me to the film process itself.
Yes.
But before I do that, how many films do you have up to date that you've shot?
Feature film 6.
Feature film 6. Can you name them?
So the very first one was Twisted in 2006. It's a film that I'm very, very proud of still. The second one was Turning Point. It was shot in 2011, 2012. We had a big UK premiere, 12/12/12, and then came out Nigerian cinemas in 2013. It went to the States. Universal Studios actually picked it up eventually. After that, I shot a film in Nigeria called Fusion.
Fusion, yeah.
So that was my first collaboration, starring AY and a large ensemble cast. Following that, I did Desecration. That was my first film shot in London. At that point, I shot in Nigeria, I shot in the States, then came to shoot in London. Shooting in London was a very nice experience. It was very, very different. So trying to capitalize on that was what then led to the Cameroon one, called Bushfire, which was shot last year.
Is it out yet?
No, we're doing the sound mix.
Okay.
More of a scoring exercise right now.
So we should expect that when?
Hopefully before the end of the year, actually.
And I know you worked on something recently.
Yes, yeah. And then the 6th film is called Banya Miracle Center. Okay. Shot in Ibadan. Again, each of those films have taken me to a different place. So my first time going to Oyo State, we shot in a village in Ibadan. Absolutely loved it. We had a huge crew. Typically in London, or even anywhere actually, I would design a crew of about 12. For this film, we had over 80 people in the crew.
Wow.
We had well over 50 extras. It was a huge world we actually created. So we actually created a community called Anya. So that was just
so altogether 6 films.
Yeah, 6 feature films.
And short films. I know of one.
Yeah. So I think one of my early shorts was actually with you. Actually.
Yeah. What's that one called? Scandalous. Yeah.
That was in 2009. So previously to that, so what I do with stuff like shorts is I use them to test equipment.
Oh, I see.
Because the whole point is, you don't want to go to war or battle.
And then you find out what you have.
Yeah, with an untested weapon. So it's, and obviously, so like doing camera tests in your house, they get quite, they get quite boring. You're not really putting things through its paces properly. So I try to create small projects whereby I try to test the equipment. Test my processes. Refine my processes. So something I spent the last year and a half doing was Steadicam Sundays.
Okay, yeah. I saw a lot of that on, was it on Instagram?
Yeah. So what I wanted to do with that was, because I've always been a fan of the moving camera. In the mid-noughties, what I wanted to do was, because I shot a couple of things on film, and I love the shallow depth of field thing. But DSLRs hadn't started shooting videos back then. So I needed to get a way of capturing that. And that was where the adapters came in.
Because that was on your very first one. We're talking about Twisted now.
Yeah, Twisted. So the latest adapters, the Red Rock adapters, whereby you have a box and then you put a stills lens in front of it, then a camcorder. You basically have to build these cameras yourself, and that was what I was doing back then.
Yeah, would you say that your experience as a software developer actually helps in your film process?
Oh, definitely, yeah, sure.
Because I see a lot of technicalities. I know that about you.
Yeah,
I was wondering.
Yeah. So I'm fortunate in that I'm very technical. I'm also creative. In working in IT, a lot of my creative pursuits and abilities, they're put into that. And then at the same time as well, so coming into the film sense, I don't believe in that left brain, right brain thing. I just see it as problem solving.
Okay.
Maths is about solving problems. I know how to solve problems. So
I think I get a bigger picture of you now, because the mathematical aspect, the software thing, and then
so your
ability to draw combined is like a synergy for you.
Yeah, so the whole thing, because even music as well. And it's quite interesting, because what tends to happen is when I'm writing software, or rather when I'm writing, I hum a lot in my head. So a lot of music ideas come out from actually doing physical chores.
Okay.
And then when I'm working on music, I visualize things. So what tends to happen is, so the physical thing I'm doing and what's going on in my head are typically not connected. Then you're tied together.
Now, I think at this point I should actually allow you to just give us a brief of the filmmaking. What is your filmmaking process like? I mean, what the things you do, what do you think really? Because someone is watching who's actually a filmmaker, or others are watching and say, let me just listen and hear, man, let me see what things I need to take note of if I really want to go into this industry. Now, what is your film process like when you're working on film?
Plan. I can't oversell that. It's like you go on an exam to sit, even if it's a 1 hour paper, it's not a 1 hour effort. You could spend a year. Like the more you practice that and the more you prepare for it, the more likely you are to succeed. So by the time you get on set, the film has been made 10 times over.
Over your head, so you have everything in your head.
So the process really is it starts with a story. Literally any story can be told. There are ways to deconstruct a story and make it interesting and create a character arc or a story arc with a transformation such that it starts in a certain way, it ends in a certain way, and the journey that actually gets to that point. So you've got the actual journey or process of building the script. So once you have the script, then it's a case of doing the casting. Casting is not really rocket, it's not rocket science. You know the characters you want, or you know who the characters are. You find actors that can kind of
match
you work with them. So that's not really like the interesting part. So what I find interesting basically is actually deconstructing the story. For me, a good story or a good script, a good film rather, is It's not what's on paper. You know, because what's on paper, everybody can read what's on paper.
So it's the actual visualization that comes up.
Yeah, so it's the subtext. It's the subtext. It's you reading in between the lines and actually how you actually interpret that. So what I tend to do before going on set is I spend a lot of time with my actors, and we talk about the characters, trying to work out what drives them. You know, basically what's not written, you know, what's not on paper. So look at the subtext in the story, their motivations, their intentions. Essentially, what's not on paper. Yeah. Right now, you and I were sitting here, having a conversation on radio. Yeah. That's what's going on externally.
That's true.
Yeah. But my internal motivations could be I'm trying to sell myself. Yeah.
That's true.
Your internal motivation would be you're trying to educate more audience.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's something.
So it's a diverse thing.
Yeah, or you're trying to educate. Maybe you're trying to make a film yourself, and you're trying to use this as an opportunity to learn something. The studio manager is thinking, okay, so how many listeners do we have?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things going on. I think it's just on the paper. You have words. The dialogue that's been spoken is not. That's not important. Somebody could say to you good morning, you say good morning back.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, we know it's morning.
Okay.
But what's the tone? What's the relationship like? That's what we're trying to actually think.
Okay. So all these are the processes you put in mind before you make a film.
They're very, very important to actually work those things out.
Now, my producer actually sent me a question for you. He's not met you in person, but from what he had been able to read up and research about you, he said to me, "Oh, this guy is actually a big fish in a small tank." And I said, "Why? What?" He said, "Well, for him to say he had heard of you would be a blatant lie." But when he went on, I think on social media or whatever, he found out he'd been able to do this and this and this, and he said to me, turning point to him, he said it appeared like a cross between Nollywood and Hollywood. And I said, yeah, you're right. So you're here live now. I just wanted to say, as a bridge between two cities and cultures, because the film Turning Point, for those who have not seen the movie, I hope you'll be able to tell us where next the movie will be seen anywhere on any platform. Some writers did say in their critique of that particular film that this was actually the first major cross-cultural film in terms of bringing Nollywood and Hollywood together in one film. How were you able to achieve that? Because if I recall the names on that film, I remember I was there at the premiere, and everyone was like, "Oh!"
Yeah, and they all came as well, which again was something that was very different because you typically watch. Yeah. You typically attend a premiere, and the cast are not there, or maybe one person is there. But something that I was quite, keen on was, we're trying to celebrate the film.
Yeah.
So as a result, it's actually important to actually have the cast there. Like you said, it's a major crossover. Of the two industries. The plan originally actually was to, I guess, work with anybody that I could get.
Okay.
But having spent a considerable amount of time, I think I spent about a year solid working on that script.
On that film?
Just the script itself.
The script alone?
Yeah. So there was a Hollywood casting director that I'd come across beforehand. So I sent the scripts to her. Yeah. And about an hour later, I got this one-line email. He called me. So I called her, what she was talking about. So so I called her quite apprehensively. Yeah. And she said, "Oh, I love the script. I can get Anne Hudson to play this role. I can get Joe Estevez to play this role. I can get Todd Bridges. I can get." She just named on drop. Yeah. I didn't think it was possible, but I just thought, if I could get one of these people in my film, that would be a game changer for me. But literally, they all read the script, and time after time, person after person, they all said yes to it immediately. The only concern was because the pitch had made to them, and I typically pitch everyone as well. Creatives don't work for money. If money was my motivation, I would stay in IT. I'll be a millionaire today. I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it. I work for free. Exactly, yeah. I work for free all the time. It's something I enjoy doing, so I would rather do it than sleep. So what I've discovered is, if someone comes to me with an idea that I'm excited about, I'm not motivated by money. I just want to be involved in it.
Okay.
So having learned that, so what I do is when I want to work with anyone, I want to work with the best crew possible, with the best cast possible, with the best of everything.
Okay.
And typically, I'm not able to afford them, so I have to pitch to that person. So all the actors, including the casting director as well, I'll typically write them, a little brief of what I'm trying to achieve and what I think the project
based on what the story and project is,
what it can do for them. So the pitch for the American was, I'm trying to get you guys in front of, a new audience, seeing you doing something that they're passionate about. Because Nigerians love seeing, foreigners celebrate them.
Yeah, that's true.
Nigerians love that. So it's a case of, let me get you guys involved in this thing. It should help your market there and your market at home as well, because you're doing a different type of
cross-cultural thing.
But every one of them, so when they hear the word Nollywood, they'll go on, they'll Google it, and they would come back with negative concerns.
Okay.
Which then meant that I then had to sell the Nollywood as well, which was done successfully, I guess, because they all ended up working on the film.
Okay. Now, I haven't said that. Now, I just want us to go to Nollywood, just what you mentioned now. There are two things really I want us to look at in terms of Nollywood. I think last year or early this year, there was a comment on social media by one of the A-list actors. She's been doing one of your films. She was in the secretion. I don't want to mention names.
Okay. No, let's mention names.
I think Rita.
I absolutely love her.
Rita.
It's a Dominic.
It's a Dominic. He made a very strong comment on what's happening in the film industry in Nigeria, and she was talking about people producing films and then putting the hype behind the film, saying it's a cinema film.
Yeah.
And she got so angry that she said a lot of things on Twitter and had a lot of a lot of people jumped and said, this was a backfire. This is good. Now, what really qualifies a film for cinematic release, and how do you identify that this film by the BigOne is a cinema film? Because I think that's where the issues are. We don't seem to really know what the fundamentals and the basics are.
Yeah, I think the key thing really stems from a lack of training and ignorance to an extent. It's like saying a vehicle. I'm just using the word vehicle in a technical sense now.
Okay.
A vehicle could be a car, it could be a lorry, it could be a bus.
So that's a means of transport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then if you have a car, you have sports cars, you have family cars, you have off-road cars. Yeah, one is not necessarily better than
the other.
But there's a misconception that the best film is a cinema film. Another word that's thrown around very wrongly is a blockbuster.
Blockbuster, yeah.
Oh, it's a blockbuster. This is a film you made for YouTube. By definition, it's not a blockbuster.
Now you're shaking tables, Niyi.
No, it's not about shaking tables. It's you can make a film for TV.
For TV, that's true.
Yeah.
Platforms are actually different. You have different platforms.
Yeah. So it's about the platform that it's created for. So if you look at something like Game of Thrones, for instance. Game of Thrones is better than a lot of cinema films.
That's true.
It's better than
and it was not considered for TV serials.
Yes, of course, yeah. So it was made for a platform. So you need to understand the platform you're making something for first. Nollywood films from the start of Nollywood were home videos.
That's true.
So they made home videos. They were not even films made for TV or for anything. They were made home
videos. They were videos. That's right.
Yeah,
for the very first one.
And they do that very successfully.
That's true.
But what's happened is that a lot of people from that background, they've trained in that. They basically perfected that process. They now see an opportunity to put films in cinema, and they now make home videos and put them on the big screen.
Wow.
It's a different product. It's a different process.
So it's basically putting a home video on a big screen.
Yeah. So the problem is not that you made a home video. There's nothing wrong with making home videos.
Yeah.
It's just you're presenting it in a wrong way. There are days for McDonald's. There are days for gourmet burgers.
Yeah, it's like a Mercedes-Benz having a Volkswagen engine.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Imagine you going to McDonald's and then you're waiting for a burger for an hour. Forget the fact that it's an amazing burger.
Yeah. But the time.
Yeah. So it's it's for the wrong platform. So I think that was what. Rita was trying to say. Because what then happens as well is, so you make this product,
Yeah.
you put it on, you presented it, in the wrong platform, without really understanding what that platform is.
Wow.
The cinema as well is a finite resource. There's a drive now to build, several cinemas in Nigeria. They're building them at an exponential rate, but it's still a finite resource. There are more cinemas in London than you have in all of Nigeria.
Of course.
You have more cinema screens
And options.
in maybe one, cinema here
Yeah.
than you have in. So it's a finite resource. You're also competing with Hollywood films.
When you tag the film as a cinema film.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Because if you go to a cinema, say so like in London, let's say cinema tickets. So let's say cinema tickets cost say £10, or Nigeria costs about 2,000 naira. Yeah. With the same price of watching your home video on a big screen.
Yeah.
For that same exact price, you could watch the most expensive Hollywood film ever made.
Wow.
Most Nigerian cinemas have 4 screens, so they can only show 4 films at a time. So there's a lot of competition going on there, and if you don't really understand that process and how that works, then you're not really doing yourself any favors, because not only are you presenting your work, you created a work for the wrong platform. They need to go to a different terrain where cinema requires a lot of advertising, a lot of print and marketing, it's a lot of legwork. And what I do actually admire about Nigerian filmmakers and actors is that when the film come out, they will physically go to the cinema and they'll sell tickets themselves. Like Richard Dominic, where it was in several cinemas.
So that's a plus for Nigerian filmmakers.
Yeah, because you're actually going there, the star of the film is behind the counter.
But should that be the case, really?
I think it's a necessity at this point in time, really. It's good for the audience, certainly, because they get to engage,
to see you physically. Yeah. Oh, that's the guy in the film.
Yeah, so so I think it's good for them, but at the same time, is it good for the actor? I'm not so sure of. I guess it's fun for them as well. The market is actually quite small, in that, because I don't think Nollywood has ever produced a millionaire. I'm talking a millionaire dollars. not from making films. And that's where I want us to actually get to, really. So,
so basically, just sorry to cut you, is that basically the cinematic film, as rightly pointed out, has so many elements to it.
Yeah.
So you don't think when you shoot a home video, it rightly means that you can actually take to the cinema on the big screen.
Yeah, it's not ideal. We create, so from inception, so from when you have a story, your thinking should be, what platform is this story suitable for? What audience is this, is this suitable for? You have home videos, you have made for TV films. Now with streaming and online as well, there's a huge market. There's a huge market for that. The type of films you make for Netflix is different from the type of films you make for YouTube. Because the different type of...
Thank God you mentioned the name Netflix. I wasn't going to mention the name, but my next line of question was going to come. Recently, I think there was a report in the news media about Netflix being interested in Nollywood films, and I think to an extent that there was a pact. I'm not sure. I don't have the details. I don't want to go ahead of myself. So I think the pact had to do with them embracing more of films from Nigeria. And here you are actually saying that we haven't been able to kind of groom ourselves in the art of differentiating between a cinema film and a home video.
Yeah, an online film. Made for TV movie.
Okay. Now, my question now is this. With that pact, if it comes into place as we've already heard, should it be a plus for Nigerian filmmakers, or do you think like politicians will say, oh, is there no alternative motive to this?
I think everything is always a plus for the filmmaker, because ultimately you create films and products because you want them to be consumed. Anything that increases your viewership or your ability to get revenue is always welcome.
Yeah.
And it's a win-win as well, because it's not only Netflix that's out there. You've got Amazon,
so many platforms.
You've got Hulu, you've got so many of them. And what's happening is all the major studios, they're taking the content out of the Netflixes of this world and actually creating their own things. And if you think about it as well, something like 1 in 5 black people on the planet is Nigeria.
Wow.
You know, it's a small country with a huge population. Nollywood films are huge, you know, consumed globally. So there definitely is an audience for a major platform to want to take it on.
Okay.
And they have been showing, they have been acquiring, like Netflix. So they have been acquiring, Nollywood films. And even recently, there was a film that Genevieve made.
Gold something. I saw the news before, but I wasn't really. Yeah.
So that film was the first, Netflix original.
Wow. Was it shot by? Was it produced by Netflix?
No. So to be a Netflix original, could be they funded it.
Okay.
Or they came across the film and they bought it outright.
Well, so that means it's like kind of like an exclusive given to Netflix.
Yeah. Well, it was not just it's not just an exclusive. They bought it outright, so they now own it.
So that means the rights and everything goes to Netflix.
Yes. So they completely own it. It is their product now.
So how does that help the filmmaker, the African filmmaker?
It's amazing because there's a film called Beasts of No Nation.
Yeah, that was Idris Elba.
Yes.
Starring Idris Elba.
I think Carrie, I can't pronounce his name, Funigawa or something, who's going on to direct James Bond now. So it's a great filmmaker. So I think that film cost $6 million to make.
Wow.
And Netflix came and bought it for $12 million.
Wow.
So they made a profit from that, because typically it's ideal to have, so for a cinema film, and this is why again every film is destined for the cinema, because typically for every pound you spend on making a film, on production, you want to put that into marketing as well.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to the cinema, your production budget has doubled. Having spent so much on print and so much on print and advertising. So one of the good things about someone buying your film outright is you don't have to worry about the P&A, because they do all of that for you. And you can move on to other things. You might spend a year or two making a film and spend the next 5 years like shopping it around.
Okay.
So it becomes a burden that has now been taken off.
Okay, for those just joining us, this is Saturday Afternoon Drive, Soul Spectrum, with the big one, Olasunkami Sanusi. My guest in the studio today is Niyi Towolawi. And for those watching already, I know you must have learned a lot, because I'm learning a lot as I sit down here beside Niyi Towolawi. We call him hekcentrik. And he's a man with so much passion for the film industry. And I was going to ask you, last week I spoke with someone and there was this issue of controversies regarding the credits at the end of films. I've had so many stories about people wanting to have a film premiere and somebody suddenly turns up and says, that story is not your story. Yeah. That was my story. Yeah. How come you have the film now already? I mean, how does the film producer and the film director and everyone involved, how do we get away from this kind of controversies all the time?
Yeah, I mean, what is a battle that Hollywood fought in the 1930s and 40s, and maybe even more recently? Now, the interesting thing is, it's called the film business, or the entertainment business, or the music business. Yeah. We always focus on the film, or the entertainment, or the music, but we don't really pay that much attention to the business
aspect of the film.
Yeah. If you go to Hollywood, Hollywood isn't what it used to be. Hollywood now is basically, it's like the city of London, whereby you just have long streets and boulevards and roads of offices on end. So it's accountants and lawyers that make up Hollywood. They make up.
That's a very strong one. Yeah, we seem to forget those people.
Yeah. So they actually drive these things. So any film you see, by the time the film comes out, several contracts have been written. It's unheard of that you want to steal a Hollywood film or a Western film story.
So you're saying we need to work on that aspect, legal aspect of it.
So so with the legal aspect, we still don't have enough understanding of what a director does or what a producer does. I often have to explain to people that I've directed films but I call myself a producer. Or rather, I produce films, but I call myself a director. You know, I've written films. I call myself a director. You know,
so it's misplaced.
We don't understand what these things mean. And Africans also, you know, we respect the person that has the money. You know, every Nigerian knows who. That's true. I mean, you know, like, we all know who Dangote is. We know who Mike Adebayo is. Yeah. But how many people in the UK know who the CEO of BT is? Or the CEO of Sky TV or something? That's true. We don't care about that stuff.
That's a very strong.
Yeah, because we don't worship the rich person there. But over there, you know, the producer is the person that is respected.
Because he's the one bringing the money on the film, isn't he?
Yeah, but producers don't make films.
That's true.
You know, people don't go and watch the film because this producer
did the film.
You know, but you go and watch it because Spielberg, you know, directed it. Steven Spielberg has produced numerous films, but we don't actually associate him with that. So we need to know we need to know what the role is, and because the director is celebrated, a lot of non-creative people who might be better suited as producers or someone in the background, they want that attention.
I was going to come to that, but this stage you get a lot of producers acting in the film, and they have nothing to offer in terms of acting.
Exactly. So my definition, because I did have this conversation with someone like very recently, and they said, "Oh, stop calling yourself a director. Say you're a producer. You can direct your films if you want to." Like, no, but that's not what it is. You know, my process is the process I go through a director's process. I don't go through a producer's process. You know. A producer pretty much is a project manager.
That's true.
You know, you see it done. You know, you see it done and you see it through. You know, you might be the driving force, but you're not really the decision maker. Okay. You know, and again, this is a thing that we struggle with. You know, you have the person that pays the piper. That's true. You paying the piper does not make you a musician.
Yeah, it doesn't make you the one playing the instrument.
Yeah, you're not responsible for how that music is done. Okay. So it's all of those kind of things. And we just need to understand what those things are and celebrate everyone for what they do. If you're an actor, two things I encourage everyone to do is to write and to produce.
Write and produce.
Yeah, write and produce. Because it just makes you better in anything you do. If you're an actor, by you writing, you can create projects for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm guessing that if you started writing now, let's say you're an actor, for instance, and you started writing, you'll not be writing for a small white girl, for instance. You'll be writing for the big one. The role that the big one can play. Yeah. So those kind of things, yeah. So Emma Thompson is very is very successful. You know, so she's very successful for that. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they were very successful for that because they wrote Good Will Hunting, and they starred in it. The film gave them, so they won Best Writer Oscar for that. Yeah. You know, but the key thing was that we can't get jobs. We'll write the scripts for ourselves and we'll do it. Okay. If you're a director, write the scripts. You know, Rocky did the same thing. So Sylvester Stallone. You know, so I could go on for days about this kind of thing.
Okay, I was gonna. Thank God you mentioned the issue of awards. I gather you have so many awards already. You just mentioned that. The last count. How many awards do you have up to date?
I don't know. I definitely have over 50.
I know some, but I'm not going to give you that privilege. I give you the privilege to tell us how many awards you had.
Yeah. Well, physically, I have over 50 at home.
Wow.
The ones that never made it to me because they've come from different countries and they were never sent out, or someone else has picked it up and I've never corrected it.
Wow.
I don't know, maybe 100, maybe a bit less.
Wow. Okay, now, what really are your life principles? I mean, what principles do you hold on to strongly?
Well, I'm not a monk, so...
I know, what I'm trying to do here is that I know that every creative person that I know, they seem to have a reality check that they go to every time they find themselves in that particular comfort zone. Even in the discomfort zone, they still go there and say, these are my boundaries, these are my realities. What are your life principles?
I think what probably drives more than anything else at this point is actually having a legacy. Because if you think about it, because in history, the people that are most remembered.
Yeah.
They're usually the creatives.
That's true.
You know, maybe a few scientists and a few generals and stuff.
Yeah. Maya Angelou, all the greats you want to mention.
It goes back to the to the Beethovens and Mozarts and Da Vinci's and all sorts. But I guess on a daily basis, what kind of drives me is, I try to spend my day as passionately and as productively as possible.
Wow.
So things that I tend to do is I wake up early, irrespective of whenever I go to bed. I force myself to wake up early, and I don't switch on my phone. I don't switch on the TV.
Wow.
But you're wide awake, so you have to do something.
So you engage your spirit by writing or doing stuff?
Yeah, just basically being productive. And once you kind of build that habit, after a while,
what's normal with you?
Yeah, so so you need to churn things out. Financially in the UK, we all have bills to pay. That's never going to stop.
It won't.
I don't have a tap of money coming in from film or from anything else. So there's a need to still kind of do the IT to an extent, which I'm quite fortunate with because I've worked in IT for about 20 years now. So
wow, 20 years?
Yeah. So
that's quite a long time.
Yeah, I've got a young face, but so
Okay.
So I've got this one grey beard that strand.
Come on.
Yeah. Show my age when it's been strand. Is that one? Yeah.
Okay, now what has been your most challenging project ever to date? I know you've worked on so many projects, but which one would you say? Oh, this one has been my most challenging one.
It's quite weird because every single and I don't know why I do this to myself.
Yeah.
But I guess it's what drives me is that every project is always the first of its kind.
So to me, I think we have a phone because I did say we didn't want to take any phone calls because of. Okay, let's take this one. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon. Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with Jojovizi.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Actually, I was going to mention the same. Jojovizi is on Facebook Live with us. I have with me Niyi Towolawi. Thank you for joining us, madam. Do you have any questions for Niyi?
Yes, I actually do have a question for you.
Okay.
Where did I start? I think I'm going to ask you on the very simple and simple question. I think you mentioned something about it.
Yeah.
And I just want to know what type of African film do you think would keep the Hollywood far from him and far beyond?
What kind of Nollywood film that would do what? Sorry?
Yes, that would hit Hollywood.
Oh, okay. You're talking in terms of the sales and everything all put together?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Niyi.
So thanks for the question. This might not be the answer you're looking for, but I would say any.
Any.
So literally any. Storytelling is about the human condition. So it needs to be a story that is universal. Because if you think about it, we have Indian films, we have Asian films, be it Chinese, be it anything. Something that I'm really passionate about at the moment are films from Iran. And from the Middle East.
Wow.
I saw a Bangladeshi film recently. It was very, very beautiful.
Wow.
So it's stories that are universal. There's, I think, in the Nigerian Nollywood setting, there has been an overly, focus on things like the mother-in-law, or the juju to solve your problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually,
I was just going to ask you. I think you answered the kind of question I would have asked you. I was just going to ask you, what are we doing wrong in the Nigerian Nollywood sector? And I think that's one of the things we're doing wrong in terms of storytelling.
Yeah.
Focus on juju, mother-in-law.
Yes, I think the juju. Yes, I think the juju itself is actually a letdown because we tend to tell very powerful stories, very original stories. And so going back to what I said earlier about solving problems. So imagine any kind of story. You're stuck on a ship that's about to sink. you're working and your boss hates you. Yeah. So these are all things. There's a problem that we're trying to solve.
So the film must be a problem-solving story.
Yeah, and African films do this exceedingly well. Yeah.
Wow.
But the problem is, so rather than using your human intuition and imagination to actually solve that problem, because we build that story to its breaking point.
Wow.
Now we build it to the breaking point, and at the point of now you using some kind of human device, some kind of ingenuity to solve that problem. The problem is then solved using spiritual means.
Okay. Well, Moji, Moji, I can't take any more questions now because of my time. I have less than 4 minutes to go. But what I would do, I promise what I would do, I'll try to bring Niyi back on this program again because the time is counting against me right here.
I'm going to come back with my saxophone.
But it's coming back and next time, I promise you, please.
Yeah. Or find me on Facebook or Instagram.
I'm not a follow.
To the point you made, if I could just be given 1 minute.
Yeah, because of our time. Let's have 1 minute, 30 seconds, not 1 minute.
Okay, no, don't worry. I'll have to come back next time.
Okay, sorry about that, Moji. Thank you so much for calling in. Well, Moji Bishi is a film producer and film director, I guess, and she's premiering her own film, October 12th. That's the information I have here. And please send the details to Senator so we can actually talk about this and see how we could be there for you on that day. Is that okay?
What's the title?
What's the title of the film again?
The Nollywood is a hilarious Nollywood movie.
What's the title of the film?
It's called McQueen, and you are actually speaking to the McQueen.
Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you. Let's wrap this up because of people watching live. Niyi, just before I let you off, because our time is fast spent, and it's well spent, I think, for those watching online now. If someone, we just actually asked the questions that we should put forward to you, but I think you're here now. Why would you advise anyone who's into filmmaking, any young person, or anyone who's going to filmmaking, what would you tell them to take note of, the things they need to have? Because we have less than 4 minutes to go on the program.
Well, the advantages that people have now that I didn't have all those years ago is that we all have filmmaking tools, on our person 24/7, which is our fault. We all own laptops or a device of the sort. We all have access to the internet. The world literally is at our fingertips. In learning to make films, I had to do a storyboard, and then eventually I discovered that the storyboard is what I needed to shoot. Having shot that storyboard, I didn't know how to start editing, what I then shot. Until I saw a frame in one of the shots that matched what was in my storyboard.
Wow.
And I thought, but I did shoot the storyboard. And I then went back to that storyboard. And in doing that process, time again, I learned not to shoot stuff that I'm not going to use.
Wow.
A strong thing that we have as individuals is we all grew up watching films. Yeah. So even if you don't know how to make films, if you're objective and honest with yourself, if you shoot something, you can ask yourself, what is wrong with this? And then learn how to fix that.
So basically, the bottom line is don't evade the process.
No, don't. You just have to do it. You have to be honest. Don't excuse it. Don't say, but it's good for this or it's good for that. It's like food. If food is poisonous, it's no good.
Now, just one word from you. Fact or fiction, which is more tasking for you? Fact or fiction, which of the two is more tasking for you?
Well, it's been said that the fact is more, that the truth is weirder than fiction or something of that nature. So I'm currently embarking on my first documentary. So it's a feature-length documentary. It's about the Ijebu heritage. That's where I'm from. I've never been there before, so I went there recently to shoot the Ojudeoba.
So which one would you submit? This is more tasking. Would you put the two of them on the same balance?
No. Well, I guess you could say that I'm a specialist in fiction. So I definitely find fiction, easier to do.
But
control all the elements.
I know you're from what part of Ijebu?
So my father's from Ijebu. My mom is from Ijebu Mushin. My grandmother recently died, so I'm flying out there in a few days to Imagbon, which is part of the Ijebus.
Oh,
And Imagbon, incidentally, was where the British forces defeated the Ijebu army.
Wow.
So again, I've got stories I'm trying to tell around that. So.
Well, our time is well spent and fast spent. A big shout out to everyone on Facebook Live. Sorry I couldn't pick a lot of the mention of the names that came on Facebook Live today. Big shout out to Kenny Shomolu. Thank you, Moji Bishi, for calling me in this program. Adekunle Adeleke, Tayo T Black, or Shunkoya, a host of people on Facebook Live. I want to say a big shout out on behalf of Niyi Towolawi, a wonderful guest today. And I'm telling you, this is a time in the life of Africa when we need to re-educate our minds. We need to go back and re-strategize, because the world today is a global village and we can't pretend not to be a part of that village. My name is Olasunkami, and it's become the BigOne, and my guest has been Niyi Towolawi, hekcentrik. Next week we'll be back, and of course we'll be better. Thank you and God bless. Peace.